Is Hot Girl Summer still happening this year?
How many carbs are in a White Claw?
If I squat every day, will I get a dump truck?
I'm Shay.
I'm Leah.
We are Two-Tone Training.
You're listening to Don't Tone Alone. Captured in between PA school, being a CrossFit athlete, and doing all the things, we managed to capture this baddie.
I don't know how it happened, but we got her on Zoom, locked and loaded. We've got Steph Chung in the house. If you don't know, now you know. We are so excited to have this superstar athlete, role model. She's a fellow Bostonian in the house. So
what up, Steph?
Guys, thanks so much for having me. I'm glad we made this work.
I know. Yeah, this is one of those
been a long
things,
time
guys,
coming.
just to let all the listeners in, like, planning these podcasts just like is never easy. Like, we have this amazing team, but we got to get studio time, and then we got to lock the guests down, and then like life happens, and so many things just like are ever changing. But luckily, Steph made some time for us tonight, and we are just grateful, blessed.
Yeah, really be blessed for us. Also, you guys hit play and you don't know all the behind the scenes.
You don't know all the stresses that came with this.
But no, much well awaited. And Steph, we are so excited to have you. You've got quite the setup over there.
Yeah, can you just give a visual for, talk us through what's happening behind there?
Yes. So this is during COVID, our second bedroom became the everything room, and we were coaching on Zoom. So we needed like a background. Rob was like, we need a background. So we had all of our old competition stuff lying around. So like you can see behind me is like my nameplate from regionals, the year that I qualified for the games. And like we have some t-shirts from competitions. We have like photos of us. All of the like, if you can see, all of those tags are from like competitions when they give you the like athlete tag, and that's your credentials to get everywhere. So Rob created this really cool like wall, and he asked after COVID if we wanted to take it down. And I was like, no, let's
the
leave
wall
it.
is staying,
So
Rob.
I'm glad. So for those of you who don't know who Rob is, can you tell her
who's Rob?
Sorry, Rob is my husband.
No, that's okay. Yeah. No, the great thing about this podcast is that we got some CrossFit people, but we got a lot of non-CrossFit people. So we're letting them in. Rob is your husband, and he's also a coach. Is that right?
Yes. So he is a CrossFit level 3 coach. He manages the Invictus Boston gyms, the one in Fenway and two in Back Bay. And we actually, the fun thing about this wall is we actually met abroad. We were living in Doha, Qatar. And that's when he was coaching. He was the coach, and he convinced me to start competing. He's the whole reason that I'm in this mess. And so a lot of the things on the wall are from when we lived abroad. So it's also really fun for us to like look back at those memories.
Wait, so he was the coach, and then you weren't competing at all, and then he convinced you to be an athlete, and then coach athlete, like spill the tea, Steph. Like, is that allowed? Like, what's going on?
Partner up with someone who just forces you to level up. Like ideal couple goals.
Exactly.
I've always been a competitive person, but I never, ever, ever thought that I was going to compete in CrossFit. I thought I was like, too broken from gymnastics, wasn't good at it, and at the time I moved from the US, it was huge in the US. So you had to be like really good, a really good athlete. You had to dedicate so much of your time. And I was like, I'm never going to be at that level. And so when I moved abroad, I had a little bit more time. I was like working a real job. So when I left that job, I had nothing else to do. I was 22 years old in a foreign country. Like I had no friends. So I just ended up spending a lot of my time at the gym. And his argument was like, well, if you're going to spend time here, like spend it working out, and like socializing while you do that, not sitting on the couch, like socializing. Right, so we started training a little bit more. There was a really cool group of guys that I worked out with. They became like my family there. And then, I'm naturally a little bit competitive. Rob was like, why don't you just try to see if you can qualify for something local, and then you can use it as an excuse to travel the region and see different places in the Middle East. So I did, and I loved it. And then he kept coaching me, and here we are.
It starts. That's so funny. Like it starts small, right? You got just compete in something local.
It can be. It's like me and shopping. It starts with one article of clothing, and then
before
the whole
you know
damn
it,
store's in my cart. But I do want to dive a little bit deeper into that coach and athlete relationship. Like, how is it navigating? I know that like Tia Claire Toomey, her husband is her coach, and I'm just so curious how that works because I just know me, and I would get real pissed off at my significant other if they were telling me what to do.
We had our moments. It's hard sometimes. I think, like you can, even the people who do it well, I'm sure that there are tense moments, it's emotional being an athlete, especially a professional one. And then having it be the person that you go to the gym with and come home to, and like separating that can be tough. But I think we did a really good job of it. Is like the relationship in the gym was coach athlete, and, more came with it. You never completely shut off those two sides, but he always did a really great job of, in the gym, it's coach athlete. This is what we are. Like, I'm going to tell it to you straight. You're not, if you're thinking of me as your boyfriend, your fiance, it's not gonna be nice, but like, this is what we need to get you where you want to go. And so it was always kind of, ultimately he always had my best interest in mind, still does. And so that's what made the criticism a little bit easier to swallow. It's hard sometimes though.
I mean, I can imagine. I mean, for me, I feel like it wouldn't even be like the working out. I feel like it would be like the nutrition side of things, like at home and being like, no, like I want to eat this. So please don't say anything. Wow.
Shush.
He was actually the best at that. So I always thought that I ate really healthy. In college, you're like, oh yes, like I'm so healthy. I eat like a green vegetable every once in a while.
I got sweet green this one time, so right. I'm fit.
Snatched.
And when I moved abroad and then started actually training a lot, you start to look at your nutrition and you're like, well, what I was doing wasn't cutting it. So he got my nutrition on track, like told me what I should eat. We did the whole macro thing. I had never done that before, so that was all brand new. He showed me how to like weigh, measure, prep, do all the stuff.
I'm so curious. So like when you said you're like what I wasn't doing, like wasn't cutting it.
Like what was it? And what was the
things?
transition?
Oh God, so long ago. Let me see if I can remember. So, I mean, I didn't track anything, which is totally normal. Like,
right.
The average person does not have to track what they're eating.
Right.
You don't have to keep track of it. But I, some days I would be so hungry, in the middle of training, I would be like lightheaded, just super hungry. Like I need to eat right now. And then other days it would be like, I would eat way too much for what I was doing, and there was no consistency. There wasn't any balance. I certainly was overtraining some days based on what I was eating, and then, overdoing it another. So I guess the best way I can remember is just, he was like, we need some consistency. Like you need to get enough protein to make sure that you're not killing yourself. And we need to make sure, like, I think the traditional thinking, at least in college for me, is like, don't eat carbs. Like just don't eat carbs.
Shay did the same thing. She would do these like insane workouts in college and come home and eat like 3 leaves of spinach. I'm like, honey, that's not it.
Yeah. I was scary looking.
Yeah.
Right. It was like, you felt bad if you went out and ordered like a baked potato, like, and I think that was the biggest thing for me, was learning like, okay, carbs are okay. Like you have to be careful about what they are, quality always matters.
Right.
Like,
and using them around your training too.
Right. We experimented a lot with timing. Like once we got good at macros, we experimented a lot with like timing of what I was eating. And
do you think timing has an effect on just an effect in general?
I think it has an effect on training. I never used it for body composition. I know that's what like a lot of people do, is if they're trying to lose weight, they try to put their carbs right around their meal. And I've done that with nutrition clients as well. I think it probably works for people who are kind of sensitive to carbs. Mm-hmm. For me, I only ever used it for training. So it was like, if I was doing 2 sessions a day, I knew that I needed the majority of my carbs, like in breakfast, in between sessions. And then in the second session, I needed a little bit of carb, like in the session, to keep me going.
Right.
So I can only really speak to performance. I think for performance, it for sure helps.
Definitely.
I think one thing that was really interesting, I listened to just some of your interviews, and she would get you were saying that you had to sometimes get creative. Obviously, you're like traveling a lot, and sometimes you just like had to go to the grocery store because obviously you need to hit those macros. It's not always easily available. I remember you saying even like Italy was a tough place to kind of be able to do it. And I'm like, Leah and I are famous for making the most outrageous
random
concoctions,
meals.
and then we'll post them on Instagram, and people are like
Horrified.
"That is disgusting. Please take that down."
Yeah. Do you have any like top of mind that you're like, honestly, WTF?
Oh God, there have been so many over the years that I like traveling for competition. You bring what you can, but you can't always, you can't bring everything that you need. So you're kind of stuck. And I think the interview you're referring to, I like went to the grocery store and I had to eat like cold, stuffed fish. It was like stuffed squid.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
It was
don't
bad
look at me.
I remember specifically because we didn't have a microwave and we didn't know that we didn't have a microwave. So everything had to be cold, but I was like really low on everything. It was a travel day. And so like short of just eating cereal, which I think I also did because I couldn't have like rice.
Oh my gosh.
It was like cereal and then like whatever I could find at the pre-made bar, but it was late. So everything was cold. Like nothing was fresh. And that's probably the worst it's gotten.
Oh
in terms of,
my
I was like,
God.
I gotta do this. I have to hit my macros. It's competition day.
Duh. Leah, I'm trying to think, so what are some of like the worst ones that we've had?
I mean, I could just like remember.
We posted like a rice cake with a hard boiled egg and sriracha.
Yeah,
over it, and we got a lot of
That's not that
flack for
weird.
I think if you like sriracha, that's not that weird.
Thank
Do
you.
you like sriracha?
I do.
Okay, phew.
All right, what's if you had one condiment? Like I love asking this question to people.
One condiment. Gosh.
Just stopping you in your tracks. Yeah.
One condiment for the rest of my life, it's hot sauce.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell me to pick one.
Ours is totally hot sauce too.
It's hot because hot sauce goes on everything.
It does.
Everything. And I hate ketchup. I hate mayo.
Wait, so even if you had a French fry, you wouldn't put it in ketchup?
100%. I hate ketchup.
A hamburger?
I mean,
Zero.
Shay, you can keep listing food. It's gonna be nice. She's like, wow.
I promise you, there has never been a food that has ketchup on it that I will eat. If Rob has fries and they touch his ketchup, like I'm not eating those fries.
He's like, word.
So
I'm gonna just
he
keep like
purposely does
nudging
that.
these into my ketchup so you don't touch my fries. Do you like
Yes.
tomatoes though?
I do. I love tomatoes. I love all kinds of tomatoes. I love fresh tomatoes, cooked tomatoes, tomato sauce, pasta sauce. There's something that
That's kind of like me. I like apples, but like not apple juice.
Yeah, I mean it's different.
Just the thing.
it is.
It's
I
different.
will say that I was in Reno last summer visiting one of my sponsors, and they make homemade ketchup, and it's not the same. And I ate it, and it was delicious.
You
Okay.
heard it here first, folks.
So I will say they converted me to like real ketchup, I guess, but
Yeah.
other
Not the
ketchups
fake.
on it.
Not the fake-ish. That's fair.
I know. I came home with a jar of it, and Rob was laughing at me. He was like, "Are you kidding me right now? You flew across the country with a bottle of ketchup."
That's
I was like,
priorities.
This is not.
I know this
Yeah.
is not
It's
like
not.
me, but you got to keep it spontaneous, you know? Wait, but speaking of food and you and Rob, who is the better chef? Like who normally cooks or preps?
Oh, hands down, Rob. This is not a hard question. I am not a good cook. I'm better at food prep than I am at cooking things that actually taste nice.
Right.
Yeah, you're like, I can put my chicken and my rice and my veggies, but I don't know how to make it taste good.
Yes. He's a great chef. He loves cooking too, which is amazing because I think if you love something and it relates to like how you feed yourself, that's just incredible.
All the better.
I feel like that was like a first
I
at
don't
like my non-negotiables list when I like was start dating. I was like, they must be able to cook, and it hasn't carried through so well. But it's all right. Sorry, Tom.
You got time, right?
Yeah, no, it'll be fine. But
that's
sorry. go
great.
ahead.
He also he likes cooking a lot of different things, which is fun. So like he'll do meal prep, but like he just loves cooking different stuff, which is fun. So every weekend he does something a little bit different, and it's like I don't know. It's great. I love to eat. He
Well,
loves
yeah,
to
because
cook.
everyone always
Great.
says that eating healthy has to be boring, but clearly not, according to Rob.
Really not. But I want to take things back a little bit. You talk about kind of upping your game while you're abroad, really starting to train, obviously a little bit harder, more like an athlete. Where is that point where you're like, wow, like I can actually like be legit at this and I can turn this into a career?
That's a really good question. So I had the thought after I qualified for my first regional. So I guess the first year that I lived in the Middle East, I did the Open, which is the way that you kind of qualify for what was then regionals. And I was one spot away from qualifying.
Wow.
And that was the point where I was like, oh my gosh, like if I really spend my time and like really train, I could maybe make regionals next year, which was a big deal. Like back then that was, I don't know, I think 10 people in our region went to regionals. It was in Spain, like all the things. So that was the goal then, was like, wow, maybe I can actually make it to regionals. That would be the highlight of my life. Like, let's just try.
Can you pinpoint like what the thing was that was like holding you back a little bit, or like what the hardest part of kind of like training overall was? Or maybe
I think I was just new. I was like, I wasn't super strong. I was still kind of dialing in who I was as an athlete. I was trying to get good at things, technique wise, trying to build up my volume in gymnastics, things that you need to be good at CrossFit, right? Like you can do a workout that's low skill, but you need to be like good at the skill stuff. So at that time I was still kind of trying to get good at that. And over the next year, we actually went to watch regionals that year that I missed it by one spot. And I sat in the stands and I can remember there was one empty lane because one girl didn't show up.
Stop it.
Talk about rubbing salt in the
should be me.
wound. Yeah.
All weekend, I was like, that's my lane.
Wow.
And the next year I was like on fire. Like I set myself on fire. So we did a lot of work with just technique stuff. I think you asked like when I thought I could get there. I didn't know, but we were like, you were close. So you might as well try
Keep pushing
as hard as you can. And then we'll see where the Open takes you. And then the next year that I qualified, that's when I was like, I actually really love this. Let's try this full time.
That's so wild. And isn't it so crazy to look back at those moments? Like, I'm sure you were devastated when you missed it by one, but like, that's potentially the reason that you are as good as you are now. Like those losses at the time are so devastating, and then they really do, make you who you are as an athlete. So that's really amazing to hear.
100%. Like failures, I tell everyone, like failures and heartbreak, it sucks. No one wants it, but it's the whole reason you become who you are. Like the year that I qualified for the games, I look back at the January before that, I went to Waterpalooza, a massive competition, notoriously like a really stacked field. And I did terribly. Like by my own standards, I was so upset with myself. I left the weekend and was distraught. I was like, I don't even know if I want to compete again. Like this is not the experience that I want to have. And so Rob and I talked for weeks, like, do you even want to go through with this season? Do you want to do like, just go through the Open, maybe don't even go to regionals. And that was the turning point where I said to myself, like, no, you're gonna push through, you're gonna turn things around. Like things clearly aren't going well in training, and you're gonna change things and make it better.
And that's what makes you who you are in the elite of the elite. Because so many people, when you hit that point, they kind of just like, stop. It's so easy to walk away. And I think it just shows and proves a lot to your character that you kind of went back and hit them even harder. We actually just went to Waterpalooza.
We did, yes.
And it was amazing.
I know.
Did you love it?
Oh, we loved it.
I loved every
so
moment,
great.
and I feel so inspired by it. I mean, just watching it is incredible.
It was so exciting. But I want to talk about another big part of your life, which is obviously the fact that you're in PA school currently, right?
Yes, kind of a major part of my life now.
That is wild. So again, what sparked that? And
yeah, how did you, take us back.
Yeah. So, I guess way, way back when I graduated from college, I was applying to medical school. So that was moving to the Middle East was meant to be like a 9-month gap year, get some experience, live abroad, do something cool, and then like dig down and go to med school. And I was applying when I was abroad, and something in me was just not quite sure that that route was for me.
What did your family think? Were they like, what the heck are you doing? Like, come back?
Yeah. And also, where did you go to school?
I went to undergrad at Cornell.
Okay.
And my parents, actually, bless them, have always been so supportive. So I think my mom knew a little bit that maybe med school wasn't quite right. Like, I always knew I wanted to do healthcare, but I think she had this feeling like it just wasn't for me, exactly like that career path. And so she really encouraged me to go abroad. They were a little bit surprised that I chose to go to the Middle East. I will admit.
And why did you?
It was a really cool opportunity. So I went to undergrad at Cornell. They have a med school in Qatar.
Wow.
And so I was hired as essentially a TA to teach their kids biology, the pre-med kids. And it was an opportunity I was never going to get in the US because I didn't have my grad degree. It was great. They made the whole process moving there really easy. So it was kind of a unique thing. And the understanding was that it was a kind of gap year program where like they weren't expecting you to stay for forever. Most kids only stayed one cycle. You could go another if you wanted to, but it was just kind of cool. So they were a little bit surprised that I chose there, but I think they understood why. It just made sense.
Yeah.
And when I told them I might not come back, they were really happy. They were like, well, it's great. You love your life there. And, you know, you get more time to figure out what you want to do instead of med school. And then I ended up staying there 5 years. And by then it was like, are you ever coming back? But of course, the goal, Rob and I, when we got engaged, we were living abroad, and we talked a lot about whether we were going to just stay. There is a thing, a lot of expats, you know, you make it through the 1 year mark, and then you make it to like the 3 and the 5 year mark. And then you have people who live there for like 10, 15 years, because it's a great place to live. The people are amazing. It's awesome. And we talked about whether we were going to like become those people. And we never really wanted to stay because both of our professional goals kind of placed us back here. Like, I always wanted to go back to healthcare. He always wanted to own and manage a gym. And that wasn't really possible for us there. So fast forward. We moved back. We thought we were going to open a gym, ended up not working out. We got a job at Invictus, Boston. Yep. The pandemic hit. We were all stuck at home, and we both, like, I kind of looked at my life and I was like, I want to be in medicine. Like, I've been putting it off for so long because I love being an athlete. Yeah. I love the life we have. There's nothing wrong with it. I adore competing. I love it so much. But when we were stuck at home, we couldn't do anything. You know, I think a lot of people had that time to reflect. And for me, it was like, it's time. I'm going back into healthcare.
That's amazing.
And here we are.
Wait, so curious though, during this like 5 year span you're away, did you see your family at all? Did you come back? And like, when they saw you, were they like, you are just like 10 times more muscular than we last saw you? I'm dead.
That's hilarious. I actually should ask them.
Are they like, Steph, you look yoked. Like, what do they feed you in the Middle East?
And I feel like if I was you, I'd be like offended if they didn't say anything.
They knew. So I'm very close to my family. So we talked a lot, even though the time difference was a little bit challenging. I did come back here and there. So most Christmas, I think the first year, because I didn't know that I was not coming back, I stayed and I traveled for a couple of my breaks, but then I came home for the whole summer and things like that. And so they knew my life was changing a little bit in the way that I worked out and ate and things like that. But I'm sure it was a shock for them.
Oh my gosh. Very different. How is it? Like, I mean, take us through that journey. I'm sure that's like so crazy to like watch your body just like transform that way from being like a gymnast to now being like a CrossFit athlete. Like, how do you feel? And like, when do you feel the most confident, and do you feel like the best you ever have now?
Yes, I definitely feel the best that I've ever felt, especially my body, health-wise. Like, as a gymnast, you just do so much repetitive pounding. it's so repetitive that I had injuries all the time. You know, I know a lot of girls who had injuries all the time, different body parts or same body part, different ways. You know, we were kind of always training through pain. And I think I always thought that's the way it was, and it just should be. And so starting CrossFit was really interesting for me because there were so many modalities that I'd never touched. Like I'd never picked up a barbell. I'd obviously swung on a bar. I'd done the body weight stuff, but like the lifting, the running, rowing, all of it was new. And I think doing all of that variety in a smart way, of course, I didn't just jump right on in, was really good for my body. And in the beginning, when I started, I was like, I am never going to be able to compete in this sport. I remember doing a GHD sit up, and like my whole body hurt. Like I did one all the way back, you know, you like lay back, you touch the ground, then you sit up all the way to the pads. And like a shock went all the way from my brain to my toes, like because I had back instability. And I was like, I'm never, ever going to be able to compete in the sport because I'm broken. Like this is going to be my hobby for the rest of my life. And through years of training, you know, gradually getting better, focusing on technique, doing all the things, kind of building the base. I feel way better today than I ever felt as a gymnast.
That's incredible. Cause I feel like a lot of times, like, I feel like obviously gymnastics gets somewhat of that rep, but I honestly feel like it's CrossFit. People saying like, that's such a like dangerous sport. People are always injured. Like, I don't even want to kind of like go near it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that CrossFit does get a bad rap because we do a lot of different movements that people don't do in their everyday life. So for me, I see it as twofold. Number one, it could be people who kind of come into CrossFit, they're athletic at a baseline, but they haven't done a lot of this stuff in years. Similar to how, like, if you played, say, soccer in college, you go to like an adult league without having played in 10 years and you like blow your ACL. Like, you know, like people get injured being active all the time. And I don't think CrossFit is any different, but it's way different than what people are used to. So it's easy to say like, oh, it gets you injured. And I think that the other side of it is like, if people aren't really paying attention to their recovery as well as they should, which, to be honest, a lot of people don't. Like, you know, sometimes I fall off too. And then I get the little like creak and I'm like, oh, okay, I got to pay attention to that. Like that can lead to overuse injuries. And it's easy because, you know, some people are competitive, and if they want to lift a certain weight or they want to, you know, go RX in the workout, they just push themselves a little bit too hard. But I think that that's not unique to CrossFit. You know, runners get overuse injuries. I think all sports get overuse injuries. So it's kind of about being smart. I tell everyone, like, when you start, no matter how fit you are, I don't care what your background was, like, you have to start easy because it's different.
Yeah. Right. Back to basics. I feel like everyone wants to like post that IG reel, right, with the 1,000,000-pound weights. And it's just like, that's not realistic. You got to kind of start small.
And like, I get it. I'm super competitive. So if someone were to tell me, like, for example, when I've been hurt and rehabbing myself, if I go and drop into a different gym, I don't want to be told to scale the workout. Like, you know, my pride's I need to scale that workout.
Do you know who I am?
Right. And then Rob is like, don't be an idiot. You don't have pull-ups yet. Like, you can't do pull-ups. You haven't hung from a bar. So we all get it, right? It's like so easy to do, but I feel that's maybe where the bad reputation comes from, is people pushing just a little too hard.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like when you're an athlete too, it kind of coming in that ebbs and flows. Like, I'm sure like sometimes you feel like there are probably points where you feel stronger than you have felt now. And like, it'd be interesting to know, I guess, where you are now as far as like balancing PA school and CrossFit.
She's like, it doesn't exist, but thanks for asking.
Balance. So I do my best.
That's tough.
I put it on my calendar. I was just saying that my calendar is where everything goes if it matters. So like, I have my classwork on there. I have my studying on there. I have gym, and I have like date nights with Rob. It's stupid. I'm like I put like movie with Rob. You know what I mean? But like, it's stuff like that. Like my calendar, if it's on my calendar, it's happening. Like it might not happen at that time, but it's happening.
You like didn't show up to dinner and you're like, sorry, Rob, you didn't send the Outlook invite. It's your fault.
Great. It wasn't on my calendar.
I'm sorry.
No, we share our calendars. So thankfully I see everything that he has on there too.
You're like, you can definitely move this. I should be the priority.
Yeah.
I actually mostly feel bad for him because my calendar is so aggressive that like if he clicks the like my calendar, I'm sure it just blows up in pink and it's like he's like
how small and detailed do you get? Like I'm really curious. Are you like painting toenails? Say the most ridiculous thing on your calendar right now. I need to know.
I'm scrolling. Here we go.
I like want to be that person, but I'm just not. Like,
no,
I have my
you won't be, Shay. No.
I am not. Leah, you're definitely way more type A than like I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get into the minutia, but if I know that I have to do something that I've been putting off for a long time, like go get a wax, it goes on the calendar. It's like this has to get done, you know, but I don't get into like, comb hair at 8 p.m. before bed. Like,
I feel like that's like our grandpa. He's known.
He does 100 strokes. Like, you look great. Perfectly coiffed. There, Howie.
That is intense. So just as I don't know if you can see, but this is my calendar.
Lordy.
And I'm just like honored that we like made it.
I know. Are we in there? We better be.
Yes.
Duh.
You are this little pink one down here.
Oh, stop. So cute.
Wow.
Love that for us.
Box.
So
you're on my calendar. It's happening.
It's happening. So balance doesn't truly exist, but you've become a master of time management. So do you have any advice for those people? Maybe they're not in the medical field. Maybe they are. What are like a few of your tips and tricks for managing your time?
Yeah, the calendar's a big one. I think that like for me anyways, it's a very concrete way of saying this matters to me. So I'm making time for it. But I think it comes down to just saying that, you know, you have to like identify what is it that means something to you and then admit like what doesn't. And that's kind of the hard thing for me. I've always wanted to do a lot of things and do a lot of things for people and like say yes to things. I have a hard time saying no. But I think that when your time is really limited, you have to just identify like, it's not that it's not important to me, period. It's just not important to me right now. Oh. So we'll make time for it when it, you know, when there is a little bit more wiggle room.
Yeah. And I think that's a hard thing for people to understand. And that's a hard thing when you are just like leveling up in life and just being comfortable with the fact that like you will have to say no to people.
And like, I just can imagine that. Do you ever like compare yourself to other athletes and be like, well, like this is their full-time job and like I have to go to school. Like, I don't know. Do you find yourself doing that?
Yeah. As much as I try not to, it's hard, especially the semifinals started last weekend.
Yes.
And like I tested some of the workouts because they're fun and that's what I train for. I love doing that. And of course my performance is, you know, not as good as it would be if it were last year and I was competing, training full time. And so it's hard, I think, not to compare yourself to people. And this is you have to just know where you're at. You have to take yourself where you're at and say, this is where I'm at today. Let me give 100% of what I have today, which is not necessarily 100% of what I have ever. It's not going to be my best, but I'm here and I'm doing it. And like, this is what we're working with. I think that's kind of what I try to tell people, what they, like you said, do you have any advice? It's like, don't not go to the gym just because you're tired, just because like, you don't think you have it in you today. Like you have something in you, right? It might not be what you had wanted this morning and what you had planned. Like I have changed my workout so many times. You know, I'm really lucky. I get programming from my coach, which makes it very easy. But there are times where I've been like, I can't do that today. I don't have it in me to do that. So I need to do something else. And that, I think that mindset of like, it's not all or nothing. It's just, it might be something different, but you can do something. Pivot is really important.
Being able to pivot and show up as your best self, no matter what that looks like.
Change the plan, but never the goal.
Boom.
Boom. But right now, I guess, what does a week of workouts look like? Do you have kind of like a workout split you can share with our fellow toners?
That's a really good question. It does change week to week, and I don't know all of the details behind what Yami gives me.
So Rob is no longer your coach, just to be clear.
Rob doesn't program for me.
Okay.
No, but he's in person with me. He still plays a major role in like helping me day to day.
Okay.
I guess now our schedules don't align as much in the gym, but he is the in-person person. The guy who programs for me lives in Iceland.
Wow.
So we have an app. And so he puts my programming in the app, which is very, very helpful because I'm the kind of person who's like, I want to be told what I'm doing. I don't want to get to the gym and just have to like come up with it myself. I need to know that like, okay, today we're doing back squats. Tomorrow we're doing snatch. So typically in general, he has me do each of the major lifts through the week. So I back squat, I snatch, and I clean and jerk. And then I have a Metcon almost every day. So the like sweaty, get out of breath stuff, because that's what I like.
Oh, same.
So,
that's our jam.
Yeah.
It's what gets me into the gym. So he gives me that every day just to be like something I'm looking forward to.
All the like non-fitness peeps listening to this are like, you look forward to that?
Yeah. Just dying and being out of breath. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Confused.
You want that?
Yeah.
I want the feeling after that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Give me those
fair.
endorphins. Give me those.
Yeah. I don't know that anyone is like, I did an especially horrible one today. So like, I'm not exactly sure that everyone loves being in it, but like afterwards you love it.
It's the after. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you usually have one day that's a little bit longer. That's like just sport. So like today, for example, it's a 30-minute workout where like, maybe that doesn't sound so long, but that's like pretty long for what we do. And then maybe one day I have a monostructural, which would be something like a long bike, run, row, etc. Does that answer your question?
I'm like taking notes. I'm like, okay, Leah, we have tomorrow. But I do want to talk about your amazing career. And like, I know you're in such a cool place right now. You've got so many amazing things going on, but are there any just like peaks that stand out, some peak moments? I know we've talked about a few of them, but.
In my CrossFit career?
Yes.
Qualifying for the games is pretty cool, I have to say. Mostly because I wasn't one of those people that straight out was like, I'm going to games. You know, I told you, like, we started off being like, I want to qualify for a competition in Bahrain. Like I just want to go to have a justification to like travel somewhere. But I think right before that regionals, that whole season was a big roller coaster, like going from being really down in January at Waterpalooza to like having a pretty good open. And then somewhere in the lead up to regionals being like, you know, someone really asked me, what are your goals? It's your third regionals. Like, do you have goals? And I was like, you know, I kind of like, it would be cool to make the games. And someone was like, say it with confidence. And I was like, yeah, I want to make the games. Like that was, really didn't happen until like just before. And I don't know if I really even like believed it. It was just something of like, yeah, that's a reasonable goal. Like, I actually think I could like do this. And regionals itself was a roller coaster. Day one was horrible for me. I ended up in like 27th place. I didn't follow the leaderboard. So these are all like estimates based on what people told me. I finished day one in 27th place out of 40. Not good.
I think that's so hard too as an athlete. Like you can train so much and then it come the day of competition. Like you just, I don't know, there's still like variables that come into it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was not I mean, we knew the workouts weren't going to be great for me, but you just never know. Like it could go either way. And day one went like all the bad ways.
Stop going that way.
All the bad ways. So I ended up in like the second to last heat, like way down. And then day two were really good events for me. I think I ended up in like fourth or something that day. So I moved up the leaderboard. And then the first event on Sunday, the last day, I won it. And then I did just enough in the final workout to tie for the last qualifying position. And then I won the tie because I had won the workout that morning.
I love asking this question. So what are like some things that you see in the workout and you're like, yes, like thank God, because I absolutely crushed this. And what's something that you see on the board and you're like, shit, I don't got this.
God, there's so
She's like, don't expose me like this.
No, I've got a list. So the oh no movements, usually it's the assault bike. I just like the assault bike. And traditionally had been running, but I have been working on my running. So we'll move running up a little bit higher than the assault bike. And I really like seeing handstand walks, and I like seeing dumbbell lunges or any kind of lunges.
I love watching handstand walks. I can't do them, but I love watching that.
Yeah, we were attempting handstands the other day, and it just wasn't pretty. No. We'll get there.
You'll get there. It's just practice. Yeah. I mean, I have a head start being a gymnast. That's like the one thing I came into CrossFit, like someone was like, go on your hands. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Like, that's fine. Everything else.
You're like, is that it? Okay, cool.
Is everything just walking on your hands? I can do that. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I would say that's probably the highlight. Not just because I qualified for the games, but I think it's like the first time I actually started believing that I could do something bigger than just like qualifying for something. You know, I wasn't just gonna be there. I was gonna like show up for it and like really do it for me. And so that's really cool. And the games, of course, was an amazing experience in itself. So I'm really fortunate to have had that.
I mean, there are not many people like that can say that they qualified for the games and went to the games. Like, that is so amazing. Like, I would literally get CrossFit Games like tattooed on my face if that ever happened to me.
Steph, you really though are a role model, and I don't know if that's like sunk in yet, that you first of all have like such a big following, like not only on social media but in person, and women especially are looking up to you, especially women in the Asian community. We were talking to Patrick Clark, PC and the Pups. And I was like, what are like some like things that I just like can't miss talking about with Steph? And he just wanted to ask you like how you do feel about being a role model in this space.
Well, I'm touched. Thank you so much for saying that. I don't think about that a lot, which is why I'm flustered. I really appreciate the compliment, because it means a lot to me. I think it's really nice to think that like what you're doing on an everyday basis is something that other people could use for good. Like I said, my parents have always been amazing, super supportive, and their whole thing was just like, find a way to do what you love, and if you can make money at it, then amazing. You know, like cherry on top. So I feel really fortunate that I've been able to do that. And if I can use that platform and like, you know, what I do on an everyday basis to help other people, then that's it for me. That's just coated in gold. I love it.
I mean, yeah, in both aspects of your life, you're doing just that.
I feel like mic drop it. So you can just stop right here.
Yeah, right? Just like you've done it all. I'm emotional, and no, this has been amazing and so fun getting to know you. And I hope that you know the people who are looking up to you listen to this and learn a few new things about you that maybe they didn't know. But now it's time. To get to the game portion of this podcast.
Not as intense as the CrossFit Games, but
not
it's a game.
Quite as intense, but it is a game. We would consider you the it girl.
She is an it girl.
You are an it girl. You know, you're just an it girl. And people, people know that. So let us all in on the it girl secrets. We're going to ask you a few of your favorite things, a few of your go-to stuff. And
it's like quick answer.
Quick answer.
Girl shit is the name of the game.
It girl shit. So let's get to it.
All right, here we go.
All right, first one. Favorite meal. It can be weird.
Ooh.
Not the squid. Don't say the squid.
Squid is way, way low.
It's with the assault bike.
Mexican. Tacos.
Hell
yeah, Rob makes these really good brisket tacos and like pork carnitas, and it's just like, yeah,
it's just
every day.
It's it.
Okay. Best date night spot.
Oh, I am kind of an introvert, so like on my couch watching a movie.
Honestly, love that in sweatpants.
Well, that leads me into my next question. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say favorite TV show, but I'll do movie or TV show.
Oh my gosh. So I really struggle with this because I like love Netflix secretly.
Steph, we
in all
told
my,
you you
like,
didn't have a lot of time. Let's go.
Nice.
I will tell you that like Netflix doesn't make the calendar, but it plays a major role in my life.
Okay, that's
when
fair.
I have the time. Let's see.
Is there anything on Netflix that you're like binging?
Yeah. Well, okay. So it's not on Netflix, but we've been watching Tokyo Vice recently, and I'm really into it. It's on HBO Max.
Okay.
Really into
Go
it.
watch. Go watch. We'll have to watch.
Westworld is coming in like a month, and I'm pumped. Everything on Apple TV I've ever watched, I love.
Whoop, there it is.
Yeah. I know none of that was Netflix. I guess,
No,
okay. Okay, Bridgerton.
Oh,
Oh, that was a good one. That was a saucy one. Did you ever watch it?
I never did watch
Same.
that.
Leah and I are really into like reality
Yeah.
TV, unfortunately.
It's
So we
bad.
like binge like Selling
Yeah.
Sunset, the Kardashians.
So that always comes up in my like in my suggestions, but I've never watched it. Somehow reality TV like I've never punctured the barrier. Or
Well, we're
whatever.
giving
I've
you
never, like,
homework. Start
we
Selling
go.
Sunset and report back.
that is like okay. That is number 1 on my Netflix every single
Yes.
time.
So it's a
Your
must.
Netflix
watched it.
knows
You
you,
must.
so listen to it.
We know you.
Yeah. All right. Next one.
Oh, I missed it. The go-to snack.
Ooh, air pop popcorn with seasoning on top. We like spray and then put like ranch seasoning on it, like
Hack.
every
Ooh.
night.
Life hack. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
feel
a
like
good one.
popcorn's a great
Yeah.
snack.
Favorite podcast besides Don't Tone Alone, obviously.
This one, of course. God. Okay, so historically, I would listen to a lot of Kettlebells and Cocktails, which is my friend Nikki and John's podcast.
Oh, shout out.
So that's probably number 1. Prior to PA school, I have to say that I've been listening to a lot of it's called Cram the Pants. It's for the pants is our like boards. So it's a lot of like review stuff. It makes my commute feel like
That's
it's
funny.
studying.
See, Leah and I are like,
So-
let's fry our brain, and she's like, studying
Yeah.
over
She's like,
there.
I'm studying. Well, yeah.
A little
for you.
nerdy one.
Yeah.
Do you keep up with like a lot of, I'm sure like a lot of the CrossFit news, and like do you follow other like CrossFitters on like YouTube and like watch that type of stuff, or do you tend to kind of like to step away from it when it comes to social media after you kind of after you train?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do follow a lot of my friends on social media. I have to admit I'm more Instagram than YouTube. If something comes up, I'll sometimes go to watch YouTube, but I follow them more on Instagram. And fortunately, a lot of my friends do keep me up on the news. I'll be in class and I'll get afterwards when I turn off Do Not Disturb, I'll get all the messages like, did you hear this happen? And so then I spend like my commute home catching up on what happened that day.
Right.
Thank God for friends. Keeping you updated. That's Leah for me.
I know. Usually it's Rob too. He's like, this happened at 10 a.m. How do you not know about this already? And I was like, I am dead to the world between 8 and 5. When I'm on campus, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, don't talk to me.
PA
Don't text,
all
don't
day.
call. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Coffee order.
Okay. Nitro cold brew. Usually.
And you're a Starbs girl, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
That's surprising.
do-
Usually
okay,
a lot of
Boston-
Bostonians are like Dunkin' all the way.
Okay. So it's Starbucks for me if I'm anywhere, but I love local places. Usually
Yeah.
when we're like traveling, we
The
try
mom and
local
pop,
places.
yeah.
And to be honest, I really like Tate.
Oh, Tate's good. The one in, I
Yeah.
feel like if we go to one, there's multiple locations, right?
I think there's,
I was like, I just always end up at the Seaport one.
Oh yeah. So they do have a lot of locations and they brew Stumptown, which I really like their coffee. So I just get a plain like drip coffee from them, but they have a beautiful bakery near to where I live. And then one right across from Northeastern's campus. And then one right down the street from Fenway, the Fenway Invictus location.
We didn't even need to
So-
Google. She like has it on lock.
I'm covered in Tate. Yeah. I love it.
All right. And last one here. One thing that people don't know about you that they'd be surprised to hear. That's kind of hard.
She's like, I'm afraid this is coming. I was
You
afraid.
wanted a rapid fire answer. I don't know if I have one. So before when I was an athlete, I used to use the like, oh, I used to teach biology at a medical school, and like I'm a huge nerd, but I feel like everyone knows that now because I'm in PA school. Something that people don't know and they'd be surprised to know about me.
Like maybe a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I sometimes I say I love to eat because people don't think that like athletes love to eat, and like I will just binge like all day. That's why I have to measure my macros.
Is there a food that like you're like, oh my God, I'm upset? Like, do you have a sweet tooth, or is it like you want pizza?
It depends on the day. I will totally get into a whole pizza by myself, with like weird stuff on it, like caramelized onions, blue cheese, prosciutto.
Yeah, that ain't weird.
Like if it has any of that combination with anything else, I'm like, that's my pizza. That one's it. But I do have a sweet tooth. Like sometimes Rob will be like, are you just eating chocolate chips out of the like semi-sweet chocolate chip bag? And I'm
like, mind your business, Rob. It was on the calendar. So
you didn't see this.
You didn't check. Yeah.
He's hidden.
Oh my God. All right. Well, this was a ton of fun. So glad we finally captured you. Steph, tell us what's next. Anything we should be on the lookout for? Plug away, girlfriend.
Well, when I'm not in my hole at PA school, which I am often, which is why I go dark on Instagram sometimes. Yes. I have been working really closely with some of my sponsors, and I have a new one coming up soon.
Hey.
So I'm excited to announce that. I'm really excited to be working with them. And yeah, I don't know if I have anything official, but that's coming. Announcements coming on that.
Hey.
And yeah, and I will have a good answer to the what do people not know that would
That's what we'll launch
you.
When the episode launches.
We'll follow up
with something a little more juicy.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then where can people find you, like on the gram? What's your handle?
Yep, I'm Steph Chung 2, and I'm kind of boring. That's kind of all I use. I have Facebook, but it's basically my Instagram. And otherwise, I love getting DMs from people. So if anyone wants to DM, I don't have as much time for it anymore, but I always try to get back to people.
And are you still accepting like clients? Is that something that you're trying to push, or you're like, just not now? Ask me after PA school.
Exactly. Ask me after PA school. I have a couple people who I have programming for and I work with. But right now I'm keeping the roster a little bit smaller, but I do on breaks. Sometimes I announce like openings for personal training sessions. So that would be pretty cool. I do that every once in a while.
All right. Get on the wait list, people.
Make your resis, kids. All right. You can tone from home.
You can tone from your phone.
But all we ask is that you don't tone alone. Bye, guys.